Hey, EGLD Army. What's up, everyone? Today we're jumping back to an awesome interview Beniamin Mincu did in July 2025 with Krago Podcast. Back then, a lot was in the air. Supernova was still cooking, the community was pretty vocal, and the big push toward the US was just starting. Fast forward to the end of December 2025. Many of the things he talked about are either live or super close. So I'm going to show you the 3 most important moments from that interview, and right after each one, I'll come back with my reaction and what's actually happened since. Let's dive in.
I think a lot of things are happening in the blockchain space, and a lot of things are happening with projects like Multiverse X. And we have a lot of people from many parts of the world, each with their own opinion about different things, how they should be done, how they should move forward, and so on. And so hearing feedback, having conversations with the community members, we noticed that there's a better way of actually giving them a voice that is heard, that can be filtered, that can achieve its goal. And so this is why, after several conversations with the community, given that we have more than 10-15 channels right now where people are having conversations, discussions, and so on, we thought, what's a better way of actually, instead of just sharing things, messages, and so on Twitter, giving them a targeted voice where they can come with their ideas. Sometimes it's ideas that they submit or request, or specific feedback to some of the things that are happening. So we thought, what would be the simplest way to do this in a few ways? One, opening up a form, like simple form that someone can send quality, interesting, useful feedback, and we can read it, we can process it, and take it to heart. Opening up some new Telegram channels with fresh people, perspectives, and so on for these things to be discussed. And then lastly, just emphasizing that we have so many channels, and sometimes the noise can drown out the signal. So what we always want to do is, one, hear out the interesting ideas, constructive feedback, and so on from the community, but also use technology in better and better ways to filter the signal. Let go of the noise and just double down on the people that really want to build something, that really care about building something. And so this is why we're here. We love the new ideas, the feedback, and so on from the community. And they love actually being able to share those ideas. That's a bit the context that we've done this through. And we've now received, I think, maybe more than 100 feedback notes. So it's really cool, interesting, and we're probably going to very soon also have a first round of updates on some of these questions, just giving the people some ideas on where we are with different things, how things are progressing, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the passion of this community is unreal. I'm a small podcaster. I enjoy what I do. It's a privilege to be here to share this space with you tonight. You know, the amount of DMs that I was just getting on and that's just me. So I can only imagine the amount of TG action that was going on there with all the feedback, and to have over 100 pieces of feedback. And ultimately, at the end of the day, people want to see success. If you invest your time and your effort and your energy, that's what I believe this blockchain is here for, and is so significant, and definitely want to dive in further into that with you. You know, how do you see MVX feedback and boost channels shaping the culture going forward, right? Because as you said, the communication was sort of broken down, and we say siloed, and now it seems like maybe it's merging together.
The point to understand here is, we've had, for instance, we have the Telegram groups where we have tens of thousands. I think we had above 100,000. Now it's probably 70,000 people in the main English channel. Then we have probably 10 or more other channels with separate languages and people from different communities in Europe and so on. And then we have different feedback channels, product channels, and so on. And that's only Telegram. Now imagine that we have Twitter, we have like X, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn. On all of these social networks, we have millions of users that are using the technology, having some ideas, and so on. So it's always a new challenge when we try to find the simplest way to getting the feedback across, making sure that the feedback reaches the point of me hearing it, some of the people in the team hearing it. And just once we hear that, we always look to take the simplest, fastest action that brings us closer to what we try to do.
All right, what did you think of that part? Benny was talking exactly about that period when the community was pretty loud and active. Instead of ignoring it, they opened that simple feedback form and some dedicated Telegram channels. I thought it was a really mature move. And honestly, it worked. Since then, we've seen way more constructive discussions and actual ideas reaching the team. I've sent feedback through the form myself, and I noticed some things did improve. Realistically, not everything got fixed overnight. But the direction is clear. They're listening more and filtering out the noise. Big step forward for the health of the ecosystem. Massive respect for that.
So that's the point. This is why the form has been done just like that. It's super simple and at the same time super useful, because people have these ideas. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are maybe not the most useful, but at the end of the day, they need to be heard. And I think this is what we're doing really good. And then at the same time, the Telegram groups enable people to discuss also among each other, the ones with the feedback and the ones where we essentially just try to coordinate in sharing some positive news, spreading the different type of good signal that we have within the community.
No, I love that. And I think that's important for everybody and everybody who's tuning in on YouTube and X Spaces. I appreciate you. I do not have my phone, so I'm not looking at PFPs right now, really focused on this conversation. If you get a chance, Tony, if you can just make sure just to see if we can get Paxton in, no worries. I maybe there's some technical issue, but
yeah,
no
I don't know what's on it, but he's here. He's in the stage.
Perfect.
He has
Right.
himself muted.
Perfect. Maybe we'll work some tech behind that. So,
Yeah.
you know, Benny, let me come to you on this. 1% better. And I think that's really, it's sort of an idea. And is it measurable? But, you know, what does that mean for you on the progress? Maybe if we can just go quarterly right now, because right now you are in these states, but just help me understand, what does that mean if we can just break it down into quarters?
The entire point with 1% is that there are good times and bad times, difficult times, hardcore times. And I think the current macro environment is absolutely brutal for general people outside the crypto space, outside the blockchain space, but then also within the blockchain space for many, many reasons. So whenever things are, the environment is difficult and so on, what you want to anchor in is the simplest, clearest effort that you can get done over one day, and then another day, and then another day. And then if you get that done, what you'll always see is at the end of 1 week, some wonders tend to happen. At the end of 1 month, some effort adds up. And at the end of the quarter, again, some good effort adds up to something that you never thought when you start the 1%. So the big thing right now is we've had the biggest upgrade to the mainnet since Genesis. This is, in simple terms, just an upgrade so significant that it has simplified the network so drastically to have what we called one-shot finality. One-shot finality just simplifies the entire process of actually processing the transaction within the network, conveying that transaction, and sharing it with the other validators, reaching consensus, and simplifying that such that in one round, as opposed to several rounds, you can now reach consensus within the network. Now, that is very significant because it already brought a significant improvement in performance for the network, but it's even more significant because it's the preparation for actually the even bigger upgrade that we have in front of us, which is Supernova.
I was just coming to that. I love it. Maybe let's talk about Supernova, because obviously these blockchain upgrades, from somebody who's immersed in the space, they understand it. I mean, I had to do a deep dive this week. Some of the people in this space, they get it much easier than I do. I was never the tech guy, but how do you break that down and maybe simplify it so that someone who's maybe not in the space can really appreciate just what is taking place with MVX?
Indeed. So what we've been preparing for with Supernova is essentially almost a completely new architecture from the one that we currently have. So we've been going through this architecting process where we've simplified and improved things so radically that the best way to look at this is we're making this technology feel magical for the user and for the developer, which means that in practice, you just want to send a transaction or you just want to interact with any type of application on this network. Well, you just tap and boom, everything is done. Less than 1 second, you have that executed and it's final. And I think that's the type of feeling, that's the type of benefit that users and developers alike need to feel. And beyond that, they really don't care. At the end of the day, you just want to see that this works. It works in a way where you don't even have time to think about it. So you tap and it works 600 millisecond is already beyond the perception point where you wonder, so what's happening now? Am I waiting for something? And so on. But this has taken us years of work to get done properly in a secure way. But with that done, we're certainly at the frontier where the network is not only super scalable, one of the most scalable in the world at this point.
Man, this part still gives me chills. Benny explained Supernova in the simplest way. Sub-second transactions, 600 milliseconds. It should feel magical for both users and developers. He called it the biggest upgrade since mainnet launch. And now, end of December 2025, Benny just posted we're at 97% complete and Supernova is coming home. So yeah, it's really coming soon. Multiverse X was already one of the most scalable L1s out there. But adding that instant speed, that's next level user experience. I can't wait to feel the difference in X Portal and see how it pulls in new users who don't even realize they're on-chain.
Sovereign chains, which we've sort of redefined a bit as light speed chains, because sovereign is this thing that only the crypto people use. Like most people in real life will never even use the word sovereign. Maybe they'll never even know what the sovereign element is. And so Lightspeed leans much more into the huge performance that the network actually brings and that you can feel with every interaction that you bring to the network. So that the simple point with this is the SDK is fully ready for people to build. It's already there. It's open source. People have been seeing a lot of upgrades around this. Now there's indeed a big conversation, and maybe the biggest conversation that I have and that I'm thinking about is we can build this rocket science technology with great products. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters, the thing that defines whether we win or whether we die with this great technology somewhere and no one discovers us.
We're halfway through the year of 2025 and head into 2026. What does your evolving role as a CEO, what does that look like? 6 months down the road.
This is a probably very, I've thought a lot, if people would see how chaotic and how crazy the schedule is, how many things need to change and to adapt, how much I'm, for instance, on the road, because sort of 3 weeks of every month I'm sort of in the US, and about 1 week I'm in Europe. I think the point for me is always find the best ways or better ways for distribution. Distribution meaning more builders, more users, more eyeballs on what we're building, more applications and businesses that actually interact with this technology. And for the second half of the year, I almost think the lesson that I've learned here in the US, everything that I'm looking at, makes me see a completely different world that plays a completely different game. In some sense, you can build, as I said, the best technology in the world, but if you've not learned how to put it in the hands of the people that need it most, then you may die as this lone genius that the world only remembers in some book, and after 200 years you're the best guy in the world, blah blah blah, but during your lifetime you die of hunger. We don't want to be that. This is why we are in the US. This is why we're doing all the steps necessary to almost rebuild everything from scratch in the US, telling a US story, getting a wider outreach, eyeballs and so on, getting other types of builders. And most important, when I'm saying demand, I'm thinking about some directions. The retail direction as in demand, the institutional direction as in demand, and then the capital markets as in demand. Because if you look at it, crypto and the entire space is very small. It's still very, very, very early.
So
And
early.
then at the same time, you have this massive pond of capital here that is in the US, that is the general capital markets. And for the first time, the bridge between this is just being set. This is the regulatory framework. This is the market structure. This is the institutional framework. And so this means that the entire game can and will change due to the steps that this administration has been doing.
Last part, this is where Benny really nailed it. First, the rebranding from sovereign chains to light-speeded chains, way clearer. It instantly communicates the speed benefit, and the SDK has been ready for months now. We're already seeing projects building on it. Then the big one, technology is amazing, but without proper distribution, it stays hidden. He was crystal clear that the US is the key. Capital, know-how, marketing power. Look at where we are 6 months later. Much stronger presence in the States. More targeted marketing, real steps forward. It didn't happen overnight, but the progress is steady and visible. Overall, this interview shows how clear Benny's vision was even back in summer. Supernova almost here. Community more mature than ever, real focus on adoption. I'm personally more bullish than ever, not because of FOMO, but because I see consistent delivery step by step. What about you? When do you think Supernova drops? January, February? Drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you soon with more updates.